Also with us, we have member of the New York Times editorial board, Mara Gay, and author and MSNBC political analyst, Anand Giridharadas. His recent book, The Persuaders, at the Front Lines of the Fight for Hearts, Minds, and Democracy, is out now in paperback. It's good to have you guys this hour. Wow, Chip Roy, Joe.
Yeah. I mean, by the way, that ad was paid for by the Democratic National Committee, and you will be hearing it across America in many districts.
But he had a point. Is there an answer to that question? Is there one thing?
Well, I mean, he did have a point, but I mean, you go down this list. I was writing it down. We Republicans stand for cutting spending. No, you don't. I mean, under Donald Trump, Republicans raised the national debt more in 4 years than the United States did in its first 215 years of existence. Said we support Israel. They passed a bill that was basically dead on arrival instead of supporting President Biden's bill on Israel. Then he said we should be supporting defending the southern border. Well, yeah. Well, then support the bill that spends billions of dollars on securing the southern border. I mean, Biden's put it all out there, and they've said no, 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 no. So I'm not sure what he's complaining about. I do have to get back, though, Laura.
Uh-oh.
Talking about my time in Congress. So Nancy Pelosi and I once a year would work on the same thing, and that would be to stop most favored trade status for the Communist Chinese government. And we would have CEOs come in, and they would lobby members of Congress, and they would say, I don't know if it was the Boeing CEO or the McDonald's CEO at the time, but one of them said, China's the largest democracy in the world because they have the most people. And they would do the most asinine arguments, all because they, of course, wanted access to the markets. And so for billionaires to be giving Xi a standing ovation, as Peter Alexander reported, I mean, the irony. So rich.
I mean, it's rich. We all laughed when we saw it.
We'll say
it is pathetic. It's embarrassing. At the same time, it's kind of dark. I mean, you hate to go there because you just have to think there are so many Americans who feel that they've lost faith in the government. And I think some of the root of that is looking at some of these hijinks and the hypocrisy and saying, well, nothing matters anymore. So I guess I may as well vote for Donald Trump. They're all corrupt.
Right.
And that's not actually true. But I think when this kind of decline, this moral decline takes place, this kind of opens the door to this kind of cynicism. And I think, the Freedom Caucus, when you look at them, it's hard not to think about that. I mean, it's hard not to get depressed at what do the voters who have put the Freedom Caucus into office, how little faith do they have in the United States government that they have sent people there to do the work of clowns instead of the work of governing and of delivering for them as constituents and Americans and for the rest of the country. And I think it's easy to kind of laugh about it, but at the end of the day, it's depressing. It's depressing that in some way the government has become so divorced from the needs of everyday Americans that they think, well, there's no difference between someone who's actually doing constituent services and somebody who is just going to make a speech. I mean, I can remember, too, when, Hillary Clinton, who was detested on Staten Island, for example, where Republican stronghold at this point. But even there, as a reporter, you would talk to people and they were grateful. They would talk about her service to the 9/11 fund that would help firefighters who were mostly Republican, who needed services because they were getting sick from the diseases that they got on 9/11. They would say, well, I don't support her politics, but she was there for us. She delivered for us.
Them, right.
It's right. And so we've lost that, I think, and there's no expectation among some American voters that that's what government is here for. And I think that's just kind of sad.
Yeah, and I mean, and the thing is, you're right. There are people that don't get the attention. We try to talk about it. In a way, I even try to talk about Republicans that are serious. And like I said, Kay Granger trying to get these appropriation bills through, but Freedom Caucus will have none of it. We talk about Mike McCall, who time and again is saying, "You look what Tuberville's doing," and it's an absolute joke. But then you do have, though, it's this Trump strand of the Republican Party. I mean, you talk about the Freedom Caucus. What the Freedom Caucus is supposed to do is what we tried to do when I was in something that was sort of a precursor to it. I mean, I talked to Mark Meadows about it, and I said, stop doing all this stuff, crazy stuff. Focus on the mundane. Focus on the budget. How can you drive the national debt down? How can we balance the budget 4 years in a row? That didn't just happen. It was a constant fight. It was a battle every day. It was a battle in subcommittee markups. It was a battle in committee markups. It was a battle getting a rule to the floor. I'm saying this because it sounds laborious, because it is laborious, because it's hard work. But we balance the budget 4 years in a row. Hasn't been done in a century. These people in this Freedom Caucus, try talking to them. They just gesture. And then they've got a guy they're all supporting who talks about vermin, who uses fascist language to win votes. Well, I left the party a long time ago, but I'm sorry, I'll end here because Mika is right and Rev is right. I talk too much. But you talked about how people get just overwhelmed and confused. I'm not sorry to say that's exactly what the fascists did. You read every playbook. You read what George Orwell wrote about the fascists in 1943. They are incredibly good at propaganda. And they throw so much at the people that pretty soon they just throw up their hands and they believe everybody's lying. Yeah. Everybody's in the tank. You can't trust anybody.
That's so on point for me. And I want to reframe it slightly because here's the puzzle. You are right that they are running on not governing and not helping people and not doing things for people. They are running on elections not being valid things that need to be respected. They're running on fascism in many cases. But here's the puzzle. When you take it to the American people, those set of ideas are actually running neck and neck against governing and honoring elections and, not fascism. So it's not just 10 guys or 100 guys who we can be outraged about. That somehow this movement, many of our fellow citizens, may not be a majority, but tens of millions of our fellow citizens are looking at this. Maybe they're exhausted.
By the way, 77 million in 2020.
Correct. So I think that, to me, it's so easy to get outraged about the 100 people or whatever, but there's a problem out there among us, right? And I would, going back to the earlier conversation about attention noise, I would summarize it as you have one party that's basically all story and no governing at this point. But I think the inverse is also true. They are up against, on the Democratic side, all governing and no story. And I don't think you can only blame the Republicans for this. I think at the end of the day, it's true of Biden. I think it's true of movements, grassroots movements. This is the conversation I hear inside these spaces. There's way too much of a kind of faith that if you just do the right things for people and do the right policies and the numbers are good, Bidenomics, this, that people will reward you. And I'm sorry, all of us who actually work in the story business, whether it's in movements or TV or whatever, we all know that nothing speaks for itself actually in life. You have to tell a story to go with what you're doing for people. And I think in many ways, Democrats are leaving space for the MTGs and other idiots of the world by failing to narrate this moment, failing to offer a compelling vision of America that is thrilling and galvanizing and exciting. It starts with the president, but it goes all the way down. And I think that vacuum has to be filled.